Hey, what's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel, and it's time for a another quick video. This is my response to Paul's 300 plus subs contest. His channel name is BarakaPDub. If you're not a subscriber to him, I definitely recommend checking out his channel. Not only does he show some great music, he does some really good topics. He's kind of like showing off gear, so he's showed off his equipment upgrades that he's made over time. He's done MFSL or MoFi videos. He just does a really wide range, and his videos are always fun to watch, and a lot of the equipment videos are very informative, so definitely worth checking out. But he had a really cool idea for his contest. He wanted us to put together a little mixtape. I believe it was 8 songs, and he wanted us to talk about each one of the songs that we chose, and kind of the topic of our mixtape. I loved doing mixtapes. I've still got a bunch of tapes floating around here somewhere, actually, but I don't listen to a lot of cassettes anymore. I do have quite a bit, and I still pick them up as I find them if it's something that I like, but unfortunately, they don't get a lot of love. In my garage somewhere, I have a box full of actual mixtapes that I have that I made in the anywhere from the mid '80s through the mid '90s. Through the mid '90s, I was still making mixtapes, although I had a CD player. CD burners weren't really around and readily available until about '98, I believe, is when I bought my first CD burner, and even then it was 2 times write speed. I did do a lot of mixes on mini discs. I was in Japan from '97 to 2005, and mini discs were really big there. I had a mini disc player in my car. I had one in my stereo, so I did do a lot with mini discs. But I usually chose topics when I did a mixtape. I would do, and most of us did this, I mean, I would do a slow jams mix, or a death metal mix, or a mix of one particular band, do kind of my own greatest hits. But one type of mix that I did like to do a lot, and I may still have others, I had quite a few of these though. I've always loved cover songs. Now, this is not a list of my favorite cover songs. What's cool about a lot of these I didn't know that they were cover songs until many years after I was familiar with the artist. And some of these I just found out recently that they were cover songs, so I wanted to share some of these. Again, these aren't my favorites. The reason I selected these is because a lot of these are covers that many people may not know are covers, and also because I had the vinyl. Some of my favorite covers I have on CD, but I didn't feel like going through all my CDs, so I chose some for my vinyl that would definitely make it onto some mixtapes that I did. I mean, a lot of these are songs I really love. The first up is off of Nirvana's album Bleached, and it's Love Buzz. Love Buzz is actually a song from a band called Shocking Blue. It's actually one of the better songs off of Bleach too, and that is one of them that I just found out recently, probably within the last year or so, was a cover. And they did, Nirvana did numerous covers. If you've seen any of their live videos or even their live albums, they've had covers on pretty much all of those. So next up, this one I did not know was a cover, again, as with the last one, until maybe a year or 2 ago. And that's Come On Feel the Noise from Quiet Riot. I loved that song growing up. That and Mental Health are 2 of my favorite Quiet Riot songs. And that's off of Slade. And they also, Slade, S-L-A-Y-E-D is the album from the band Slade. They did another cover, and I can't think of the song off the top of my head, but on their next album, they did another cover off Slade's album. This next one, I'm sure, oh, no, we'll get to that one next. This one I've known was a cover since the 80s. I've always preferred this version to the original, but I do have the original on vinyl too, and do like it as well. And that's Smoking in the Boys Room off of Theater of Pain. For probably the first couple of years, I thought it was a Motley Crue song. It wasn't until a couple of years later that I found out that it was a cover. And they've done a lot of covers, which I'll show on the next album. But another favorite cover of mine that they did was a Tommy Bolin cover, and that's Teaser. That's another one that I didn't know was a cover until just recently. Scott Waters sent me a copy of the Bolin album, and you know, the name of the album is Teaser, and that's how I found out that that was a cover that Motley Crue did. One of my favorite Motley Crue covers is on Shout at the Devil, and that's their cover of Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter is actually one of my favorite Beatles songs. I've always thought that that song was super heavy, even the Beatles version. I've always considered that to be one of the early hard rock or heavy metal songs. But and so many bands have covered it. Aerosmith has covered it. Who else did? I know Megadeth has played it. I don't know if it's been recorded, but I've seen them play it live. But Motley Crue's version of Helter Skelter is just absolutely awesome. So that would definitely be on there. This is one that you know, I didn't find out until years later it was a cover. And then once I found out it was a cover, you know, I went back and listened to the original. The cover is much better, but I do also like the original version. That's All Along the Watchtower, which was on Electric Ladyland. The original is a Dylan song, and I think it was on the John Wesley Hardin album, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong on the album. Now these, the last two, I'm sorry, two of the last three are songs that I absolutely did not know were covers until maybe the last 3 or 4 years that it's kind of been the topic of discussion within the various music communities, and a lot of it has to do with lawsuits that have been popping up over the last few years. But the first one is off of Led Zeppelin 4, and it's When the Levee Breaks. And they actually, I give credit, and I can't remember the name of the guy that sang it, but it's a blues song from like 1928 or 1929 that they've obviously reworked. But and that's one of the few that they give credit for. You know, it's become known lately that Led Zeppelin ripped off a lot of riffs, and in some cases entire songs, and that's the case with this one. Off of their first album, Led Zeppelin, there's Dazed and Confused, and that was originally written by Jake Holmes. He wrote it and released it 2 years earlier. He toured with Jimmy Page, and they didn't just steal the riff, they stole 80% of the song. The bass line's exactly the same. The chorus is the same. Some of the verses are different lyrically, but about 80% of the song is the Jake Holmes version. And you can find that one. It's a really cool. The original version's really cool. You can find the video of that on YouTube. But and they were sued. Led Zeppelin was sued in, I think, the mid-90s or so. And that was pretty big news back then. And then that brought up all the discussion and whatnot of what they've borrowed over the years. And then the last one, and honestly, off of this album, I could choose 5 or 6 that I would put on the mix. But the number one by far would be Am I Evil? Was that even on here? You know what? Maybe it wasn't on here. Oh, no, there it is. It is on there. So, Am I Evil? Which, of course, was originally a Diamond Head track. This being an album full of covers, I mean, honestly, and Am I Evil, for the longest time, I thought was a Metallica song. My copy, I have one of the early copies of oh, gosh, I'm drawing a blank now. Kill 'Em All. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. But I have the early version of Kill 'Em All that has Blitzkrieg and Am I Evil on it. Obviously, it was taken off a couple years later for copyright reasons. I think it was only available for like the first year of the CD run, if I remember correctly. And you could still find copies that pop up. They're usually about $10–12. They're not too expensive. But that was my first exposure to, it wasn't my first Metallica album. I think it was my third Metallica album that I bought. But Am I Evil was my favorite song on that album. And for the longest time I thought it was theirs. But there's some really killer ones on the Garage Inc. vinyl. Or if you have any of the Garage Days Revisited or the B-sides and whatever. But some of my other favorites are... their version of Whiskey in a Jar is awesome. Tuesday's Gone, Am I Evil and Blitzky, Bread Fan, The Prince. I mean, at one time I did have a mixtape of Metallica B-sides and whatnot. Don't need it anymore because I've got Garage Days now on, this is the original vinyl. And then I've also got a copy of the CD. But that's it. Again, Paul, congratulations. I think you're up to like 360, 370 subs now. Congratulations on the subs. You definitely deserve them. I look forward to future videos from you. For those of you that are watching my videos that aren't subscribed, I'll put a link down below. I definitely recommend checking out Paul's channel. Other than that, take care, VC, and have a good one.